College life can be challenging, especially for Black students facing unique struggles and pressures, but you don't have to face it alone. Introducing Read You, the mental health app created by Black innovators for people of all walks of life. Read You understands your pain and mental health struggles because it's designed by people who truly get it. With Read You, you have access to culturally competent therapists, stress reduction techniques, and a supportive community all at your fingertips. Get ready to join a community that understands you, supports you, and helps you thrive.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Service, part of the Natanya experience here at the New Solutions Network. And today I have a very special guest. I do say that a lot, but I mean it every single time. I have the fabulous, the one and only Genevieve. Hello and welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
So we are going to talk about what it's like to live in a world where you are, your craft, your skill, with your emotional support camera there as a clue for our audience here, is to help people look and feel their best and present their best idyllic self to the world, to the camera for photos and things like that, events, lifestyle, and all the things. And yet, behind the scenes, for lack of a better word, right, since we're behind the service today, there's often a lot of tumult going on, and you have to appear and put them at a state of relax, of trust, of comfort, of ease. So you have to project that you are great.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So I thought it might be interesting, since you've been so kind to share with me some backstory about what it's like to be in this service industry for so long, through life transitions, COVID transitions, and the like. And I thought maybe we could start out with the happy stuff and talk about where you are and what you're doing now. And then we're going to go back and unwind it all.
It's probably a good way to go, honestly.
I always start with the happy stuff.
You have to.
Because today we're smiling.
Yeah,
and that's
today's
something.
a good day.
Today's a good day. So, you have relocated to fabulous New Jersey.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
So I got here in March, and it is now the end of June.
Yes.
And so I haven't been here very long, but I've been coming here in New York City at least like once, twice a year for the last 20 years. My best friend lives here. We met when we were 21, and we only lived in the same city for 6 months, but we managed to stay best friends across oceans and a whole country. Sorry. What technical difficulties? This is pretty par for the course for me, honestly. This is
I
pretty
knocked
standard.
this one on the floor before.
Oh, it's awesome. Don't you love it?
And Marvin didn't even get mad at me.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Standard, clumsy person. I don't know why they trust me with these expensive pieces of equipment.
No,
because
like I said, I already knocked this on the ground. This was my bumper guard to knock it off the ground.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But anyway, yeah, I'm super familiar with it here. And I reached a point in my life where I had reached the end of a bunch of different versions of myself. And I had always envisioned myself living here and envisioned myself having this version of me here. And I ran out of excuses not to do it. So
you work with the studio and you work independently and you do photography, but do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I am here working at Venture Studios, which is amazing. It's my friend's husband's business, and they have two studios, one in Montclair, New Jersey, and one in Greenwich, Connecticut. And they do everything from headshots, pet photos, families, all of that, to editorial stuff like that. It's all studio based. And they do really high quality work. And the thing that makes it fun to work there is that we sit down with everybody and make it more of an editorial shoot. So we're telling your story. We want you to bring costumes, accessories. Like if you're into sports, bring your jerseys. We want it to be more of a storytelling shoot than just turn your head this way, now smile. Like that's not really our style at all.
On the one wall in the studio, I noticed that family who has the Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Who it was like not a triptych, but it was like a wall collage experience. And
Yes.
all the people are eating the food and playing with the food and the different family members and then the group shot. And I didn't know that it was a family who owned a restaurant. I just thought, oh, how cool of a family photo
cute, yeah.
that would be. But the thing that struck me is, yes, there's like a movement and an energy to the photos.
I mean, they even brought their dog.
Yeah.
So there's like one of the photos in that
that's
collage
right.
is like they brought in this giant bowl plate of spaghetti, and there's like spaghetti and meatballs, and they have a photo of the dog like looking over the bowl of meatballs, and it's the cutest thing you've ever seen. So yeah, we do stuff like that that's really meaningful and specific to you. It's not so cookie cutter.
And I'm assuming it's going to be okay, and maybe we'll have them ready that I'm saying this right to the camera, to my own team, we splice in some of the shots from our shoot because we had a good time.
We did have a good time.
We did have a good time. There were a lot of
day.
outfits. There was a lot of outfits. And then somehow it was over. I was like, are we done? I was terrible.
I kept going. I was like, let's just do one more. She was like, I don't know. I think we got it. I'm like, no, one more.
So, but you know, I don't know. I've had a lot of photo experience in the last couple of years, and that was actually fun. And I was kind of dreading it,
Thanks,
you know,
good.
and so
it should be fun. Photo shoots shouldn't be, you know, they shouldn't be stressful. Number one.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are more yourself, you're going to look better, and you're going to like the way you look better. So we really take a lot of time there to put people at ease.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, for me, and we talked about this, you know, pretty openly, and for the people who are listening or watching, they may or may not know, you know, everyone comes to a different place. What everyone sees on the outside isn't the you that you see for yourself a lot of times. And as someone who has physically transformed as much as me, it's still this jarring, surreal experience where people are like, oh, you're cute. I'll be like, I don't like getting my picture taken. Mm-hmm. So it's like in some ways everyone thinks, oh, you're such a natural, because sometimes I'm just like, I don't care, whatever. But I still kind of get this almost like stiffness and awkwardness about there's a camera coming in at my face.
Everyone is like that.
Yeah, but you really made it like I didn't feel that way hardly at all. And I think it wasn't because you didn't have me, you know, like just stay still for your prop shoot, if you will. Although you did a couple things with the hand, and I was like, can I just do that? But I will say, so that is not supposed to be a promotional commercial here, but I am being your commercial because she's incredibly talented. So everyone after will have to check out. We'll have all your socials, all your info. Because
I do completely different work for myself as
Yes,
well.
I
So like
was
working
gonna
for
get
that
into
studio it's such a fun experience because I haven't been able to like do those family and more I guess like consumer based photography, so like kids, families, babies. I haven't worked with those kinds of people in such a long time because I've been more in the editorial commercial space, corporate, and then I do like cookbooks. I work with a lot of chefs, artists, makers, business and branding essentially.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun for me to go in there and work with real people, which business people are real people too. Let's be real. But when you're coming in as, you know, a mom
Less
and
scripted.
you want a good picture of your 3 kids and 2 of them are toddlers and it's chaos, being calm about it and explaining to them like, look, I know that you want this like dream picture, but also the point of photos is to remember this time in your life. You get to like freeze this moment. And this is your life right now. Your life is chaos.
And one of them might be
allowing
picking
people
their
to be
nose
that.
or crying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I shout out to Cheyenne. We may have some trigger warnings about whatever J.C. Penney and Picture People shoots of old.
Oh, sure.
Where we were all like,
Ugh.
you know, everyone was so stressed out just to get one shot of everyone kind of looking, like my son said, like a cult, because I'd be like, everyone wear a white shirt or everyone wear whatever.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day when we thought that was a good photo.
Some people still think it's a good photo.
No, I did it. I admit. I'm sorry.
Everybody's
That's
did
a
it.
different show for the confessions of cheesy,
For sure.
cheesy trends you thought were cool that you now cringe at. So you're this bubbly, cheerful, loving, talented, vivacious, vibrant choreographer of visual realities, but you had some bumps.
Oh, quite a few.
So we were talking before we filmed even about why we're even doing this and why you agreed to do it and how much you're willing to share. Because we talk about, since this is, mental health, how much people are comfortable speaking about and sharing because this will be public. And what you said was so perfect. I want to basically reenact that moment right now because it was unscripted, but it was true. You said, well, I think when you share your story publicly, and especially women of a certain age, meaning, we're in later chapters of our life. Mm-hmm. It's okay to say, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I might want to do something different. I made these mistakes. I have these regrets, but they are all me, but they are not me. and I can still be all of these things that I'd like to be or that I'm going towards. And just putting, your own stamp on it so that maybe somebody else listening or seeing in some way feels less alone in their own trauma, swirl, shame, guilt, whatever cycle, right?
Yes.
And that, just looking at the perfect Photoshop picture of you or I or Marvin in the booth over there, is not the whole story.
That's not real life.
It's not real life.
It's a joyful moment, perhaps, but giving yourself permission is something I tell myself a lot. Like, I'm giving myself permission to be okay that I made this mistake. I'm giving myself permission to change in the ways that I know that I need to become the person that I have envisioned myself to be. And it's a process, right? I mean, we all go through all these things in our lives when we're younger. And when you're in your 20s, you're like, what is life? And then in your 30s, you're like, okay, this is life. Is this the life that I wanted? And you go down a certain path thinking like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to toe this line. I'm supposed to, be with this person. I'm supposed to do this career. And that's what you're doing. And you hit this point where it's either working for you or it isn't. And you need to decide, is it worth it to me to be myself and feel better and change everything, which is going to hurt some people? Maybe you're letting people go from your life, like all of those things.
Yeah,
and
that's
you have
a
to
big
give
one.
yourself permission to do it.
That's amazing. So that was a lot in there. Thank
Sorry.
you. No, I'm like, yeah, wow.
It's a
I was
lot
like,
in
which
here.
one should I go to next? Let's talk about, I'm going to go right into childhood.
Great.
Because of the other things we were talking about before we were rolling, an anecdote you shared about your dad and a commissary situation. And I thought just kind of we slipped right into that. And you didn't have the most conventional parenting situation and exposure because of that. And I think that's important to share, and how it shaped you and what you learned from it. And also, unfortunately, kind of how that shaped the current years and those losses. So I don't know where you want to start from, but
I can briefly tell that anecdote again.
Yeah,
if you
sure.
want, 'cause it's precious. And I know a lot of people will look at it and be like, okay, my dad was mischief. Okay. He liked to party. He was a cute California hippie. He grew up in the mountains. I grew up in South Lake Tahoe. And so I had, in a lot of ways, a really idyllic childhood. We didn't have a mall. We went hiking. I was outside a lot. I was water skiing and doing all those things. And my dad loved outdoor sports and, let's be outside. But he also got in a lot of trouble. And there was a holiday coming up. He went to a party and had a little too much to drink and was in a little accident. And so over Christmas, he was incarcerated, and I was going to visit him, to visit. And a couple weeks before Christmas, he was like, hey, can you put a little extra money in my commissary? I want to get some cup of soups. And I was like, yeah, sure. I had a job. I always had a job. I was very responsible, I think, because my parenting and my home life was a little all over the place, and both of my parents were busy doing their own thing. So by default, I became more responsible, like latchkey kid, raising myself. I was the parent in the household a lot of times. And so I put money in his commissary. And then when I went to visit him on Christmas, he said, oh, I sent you something in the mail and you should get it, today or tomorrow or whatever. And it was a letter that he wrote me, but he had paid this guy who was an amazing artist who was also in at the time, he paid him in cup of soups and Snickers bars to make me stationery that was like Santa Claus and his sleigh and the reindeer and the whole thing. And then he wrote me a really heartfelt letter, and I still have it. And it's one of my most precious prized possessions, this thing. And for a lot of people, I think they would, kind of shake their head and be like, oh, that's so sad, that's, what you had to do for Christmas is like looking through the glass, talking on the phone, in the jail. But at the end of the day, my dad was a good person. He gave me his heart and soul. He loved all of his friends. He loved babies and children. And he was just like an animal lover and nature. So he imparted all these good things into me. So I always just saw that part. And that's what I took away from it. So when I look at that, I just think about how much my dad loved me, that he was thinking about me the whole time he was in, so that he could give me something when he had nothing. I mean, what else could you ask for? Right?
And that kind of perspective that you can choose to take from that narrative is essentially, isn't that the key to how we maneuver all this?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You can either choose to look at it and make a positive spin at it, or you can be like, oh, I had the worst upbringing and I don't want to talk about it, and you want to hide who you were. Why? I didn't make those decisions. He did.
And even if we did, I mean, we,
Right.
that's it. But I know it's not that easy for everyone to activate into that, but I do like your example of it because it's very real and it's pretty black and white, like exactly that. I think some people could hear that story and be like, oh, Christmas in jail.
I know.
Right.
Shocker.
And so, there's that. So fast forward, you have your own business.
Mm-hmm.
You're living in California.
So I was in
Palm
LA
Springs?
for the past
Okay.
5 years.
Okay.
And I moved there in mid 2019 thinking the previous 10 years I had been in Chicago and had a very successful business.
Right.
I did very, very well doing very high end weddings. I mean, I've shot $1 million wedding, which was absurd.
Are they still married?
No, they're not still married. Don't spend that much money on your weddings, guys. Not worth it.
Elope.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where I
Party,
shifted in
trip.
it.
Invest. invest.
Something. Buy a house. I don't know. But I was doing really well with the business, but that particular pocket of the business, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And I had a relationship that, we were supposed to get married, and then that fell apart.
Well,
and
I was
it just
gonna
felt
say,
like one
so-
thing after another.
But sorry to go here since you're past it, right? You said it's okay. I mean, you're shooting over the top glamorous weddings.
Yep.
You're not married.
Nope.
Your relationship isn't maybe working
It was
out
not.
the way you had hoped. I'm trying to delicately walk into this, right? And
No.
say, so what that must have been like to show up with these brides. I'm sure there was a few bridezillas.
Only one.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
well done.
I got to
Well
a
done,
point-
Chicago.
Right, yeah. Well, I was shooting everywhere, so I did
Okay.
weddings all over the world. I did like quite a few destination weddings, and then I got more of that. And yeah, it was very difficult watching these people have this life that at the time I really thought I wanted and needed. And I was like, when is it my turn?
And it
When
was
is my turn?
like the magazines, right? I'm assuming it was sort of everything.
Those photos were in magazines.
Yeah,
in fact,
so-
yes, they were the magazine.
It was that curated,
Mm-hmm.
romantic, with all the gestures and all the bows and the hearts and the flowers and the perfect whitened smiles in front of you as your job.
Yeah.
While
every day.
at home, when you get home,
Mostly,
how would that reality kind of come?
I cried a lot. There were a couple of years towards the end. My ex was unfaithful, and I found out in a very, I don't know, just it wasn't the best way to find out about it. I was caretaking for him because he had really severe allergies and he had an allergic reaction, and I was like making sure he didn't die. And so his phone was blowing up, and I was like, oh, let me just check and make sure, he doesn't need anything or something, while he's like gasping for breath because he was allergic to nuts and seafood. And so he's having this allergic reaction. He's finally asleep. So I check his phone, and it's his ex from before we met. And there were just messages on messages on messages. And I was like, oh, were they talking before he had this allergic reaction? Like, I'm just going to text her really quick and let her know, like, he's okay. I got him. And then I found out that they had actually been carrying on for over a year, probably longer. Honestly, I don't know. But it shattered my world because we had been ring shopping, and we had just had the dinner like a month before that where our parents met, and we were doing the thing. And then I find out that I, in fact, was not the priority. And in hindsight, I look at it now and I realize that I was never the priority. But I kept choosing that, I think, because whatever reasons we choose, I loved him. I loved him very much. We fell in love really hard and fast, and we met, and 5 months later we moved across the country together. It was a crazy thing, and I thought, this is my person, so I was just all in. It's like, when I love hard and all the way. And then to find out that I had been investing all this energy into something that was not going to become what I wanted, it just flipped this switch in my brain, and work became insufferable. I was miserable. I wasn't doing a good job. I stopped networking. I stopped marketing. And I really started thinking about like, do I want this to be the rest of my life? Do I want to be around this? Now, the wedding industry in and of itself, at least where I was amazing. And I'm very lucky that I have a family that I built for myself that I still have because of the wedding industry.
Family.
For sure. I curated those people myself because I was
And that's
working
that's
with them.
another big piece. I'm sorry to like break down sometimes, but I think these are really important things. So the mindset of how we frame our experiences and how we find value to ourselves, not what anyone else thinks, is a big piece. Another piece was how you didn't necessarily have a big extended family or maybe networks, but you made a family and network for yourself that helped buoy you through that time. And that's like, available. And it's hard as an adult to make friends. Hi, I want to be best friends.
I know. We kind of did.
I'm like, we did it. But we also both were like, is this weird? I don't know. Let's just be friends. But some people have to not be afraid of that, especially I think adults, men and women, that sometimes the people that are your people are going to come in and out of your life at different times.
For sure.
And different life stages. And half of it is about being open to meet them.
Yep. You got to let people in a little bit. And when you work with people in what for a lot of people would be really stressful situations, weddings are a one-day event. You got one shot to get it all right. The timing has to be perfect. The lighting has to be perfect. Everything has to run to schedule. Those kinds of things are not easy jobs. And so it really, much like working in a restaurant or any like high stakes, stressful, like
service industry,
those of you who know that you have to bond together and you kind of like trauma bond with these people.
Quickly. Trauma bond is a good way to put it because it is sort of like with military precision, with sort of objective, empiric, it's not about feelings in that moment. It's about navigating everything.
Completely. You have to shut yourself off, and whatever's going on with you does not matter. I shot one of the most beautiful events that I have, some of the best work I've ever done, the morning that my cat that I had had for 16 years passed away. I woke up, she was dead in my arms, basically. And then I had to go shoot a wedding for someone's happiest day. And you know what? You swallow it. You swallow it, and you just go, today is not about me. And that's good and bad, right? Because you learn to like shove down your feelings over and over and over and over when you're in a job like that. But at the same time, I actually do take a lot of pleasure in translating what's going on in front of me into something that these people can keep and share and will cherish. And, especially with loss, photos are incredible. They're really powerful. And after shooting weddings for all the years, I have these like standout moments, things that I think about all the time and how meaningful the photos that I was taking, even though it's like a luxury item, I'm aware of that. But the meaning behind them is so big for people that you can't let your personal life affect how you're going to show up for those people. So when you hire me to do your corporate event, when you hire me to do your wedding, when you hire me to go travel. I just shot my friend's wedding. She got married under a waterfall in Puerto Rico. We had to like hike and it was hot and crazy and I'm carrying all my gear and slipping and I'm rolling around in the water. And like, you do whatever you got to do to make sure that when they look at those photos, they're going to see their mom and how she was looking at them. And like when those people are gone, because eventually they will be, that's all you have left is these moments that I get to capture for you that you don't see. So those moments when you are going through something difficult and you're trying to process it and then you can't anymore, that's when I knew I had to step away because I wasn't showing up the way that I knew the people who were hiring me deserved. And then I did have my one bridezilla. She was lovely during the wedding. And then after the fact, her and her family just became kind of a nightmare. And it was a really long scenario, but it soured me pretty bad because I showed up 100%, like over the top for this event. And I think it kind of broke me a little bit that I was putting so much of myself into something and someone could be so flippant about it.
So not valued.
Mm-hmm.
And
correct.
I think a lot of people who do, let's say, creative arts, and I don't have that kind of talent. I just kind of like to be near it.
You have your own talents.
Whether it's, expressive, drawing, video editing, photography, painting, singing, rapping, whatever it is, when you're expressing your own creative flow, essence, God channeling, whatever you want to call it, right? Out into the world, and it's for consumable, right? So other people take it and buy it or use it or touch it. I think the other people, me and others in the, don't always realize, or it takes sometimes need a little understanding about how connected the artist is to their art and how much of an expression of them is part of that deliverable. And I think sometimes because we get so commoditized and we're so used to having everything on demand, we sort of devalue that human essence that gets put into those products that we're buying. And so when they did that to you, that's what they made you feel, like you were a photo factory maker, not a human being who experienced their experience with them and tried to bring it to life in the most, beautiful way. I don't even know, but I can imagine.
Still to this day, one of the most beautiful events I have ever shot. It was absolutely gorgeous. The day was perfect. I did so much pre-work for that. And I really had bonded with their family when we met. We all got along really well. There were signs along the way that there might be trouble with them later on, but through the actual wedding day itself and then delivering the photos, they were ecstatic about the photos. It was then follow-ups with doing an album and all this kind of thing. And then their communication broke down, and then the blame all came back to me. And I was just there trying to facilitate, how are you going to experience this on the other side? And they didn't value it. And it felt icky. I'm not going to lie. Like, it was not a good feeling. And so pivoting into doing work that really made me happy. And I had been doing this work all along also, but doing artists, makers, I have some really talented friends. So it started with that, like, we
were talking about a couple of them, and that's the coolest part, is that you then now showcase, you do a lot of things, but you get to showcase a lot of these makers.
Yes.
And so then the rest of us get to look.
Yeah. And it's like understanding that as an artist, a dancer, a chef, a musician, you want to be perceived in a certain way. And also I want to show the world the way that everybody else sees you. I want you to see how everybody else sees you. It's a really difficult thing because most people don't like getting their photo taken. Like, am I wrong? Nobody likes that. Yeah. It's terrible. People come into the studio all the time. I'll work with clients and I'll show up, at whatever location. And 95% of the time, someone in the group will be like, I don't like how many pictures. I'm not really good at taking pictures. I don't know what to do. And it's like, that's my job though. My job is to sit here and like create an environment, which, it's not always easy. You got to read people really quickly and see like, what am I going to say? How am I going to put the energy into the room to have people relax so that they can be themselves and forget that I have a lens pointed at them. And that's a difficult thing because I have a giant lens that I'm pointing in your face. It's a lot. But like understanding that I am here to make you feel beautiful or cool or mysterious,
or just
whatever.
Exist.
Yeah. And so when you come to me to do these kinds of shoots, like I really want to figure out what is it that you're wanting to see, number one. So it's like, okay, lighting, tone, bright, dark, moody, whatever. But then it's also what's your persona within this? And that takes your persona to actually be visible.
Right.
And that takes a certain kind of personality to bring it out in people.
And not everyone can do that, but I just think that's like sort of an emotional that's
the right word. It's very emotional.
It's an emotional weight though that you're carrying for both people at that time.
People can see themselves in a selfie.
Yeah.
And they can look at it and go, I like this angle. I like the way I look here. And so I show people the back of my camera from time to time when I get like a really good shot, just to remind them I got you, we've talked about this, especially for women. One of the things that I tell most women when they come into the studio is like, don't worry about lighting because nobody likes this part of their body and nobody likes this part of their body. And like for the people on the podcast, I'm touching my upper arm and my chin and neck area. Like no one in the world wants to see their double chin in a photo. And through lighting, angles, all those things, like I ask people, when you take a selfie, what is your favorite side to take a selfie from? Some people are very specific. Some people don't know at all. So it's helping you get to a place where you understand that I am here to figure out how you are going to look the best, how you're going to feel the best. When you look at that photo, you're like, oh, I like that angle of me. And then we will continue.
Right,
and I
right.
take that information.
And that these, the purpose might be different every time, but if you're the person being photographed, it's also beyond the session. What's the photograph for, and how you show up in the world, all the things you said. So these things, like you said, are indelible. A lot of the stories we hear about, unfortunately, and I'm going to get a little out there, but with people, losing their personal belongings, through disasters like the fires and things like that lately.
Which I was just in. Yeah, I came from LA, and my neighborhood.
Yeah,
is
so
gone.
one of the things that is like the number one thing, that people, of course, I mean, it sounds obvious, but that the thing that was
photos.
eviscerating was for photos, or people who, if you could grab anything, what did you grab? And I know that, even when I was helping, from my parents' time, I was like, I got to get all these slides, and I had all these cases of slides, and I wanted to take, everything. But then I was like, okay, if it comes down to it, it was the photos and the slides. So, your one day at those weddings and all those times live on, forever, but you're still living your life and moving through that. So 2019, you're in LA.
Yeah, I just got there. I had a temporary little roommate situation when I first landed because I knew LA. I grew up in California, but I hadn't lived in LA. I had lived in San Diego. I had lived in Santa Barbara. I knew my way around, but I didn't know the city. And whenever you move to a new city, it's a little nerve-wracking. You're like, what neighborhoods do you avoid? What neighborhoods are good? Where are the people that I'm going to connect with going to be? So I ended up just a little bit east of downtown in a neighborhood called Lincoln Heights. Very Latino neighborhood still, is gentrifying now, but it was comfortable and it was a great place for me to land. But I moved into my studio, which was this beautiful live-work loft. My studio space was downstairs, cement floors, big skylight, the whole thing. And I moved in on March 8th of 2020. And so
March
8th of 2020. And then a few days later on March 11th, which also happens to be my birthday, my dad went back to the doctor and he found out that his cancer was back and it was really bad. And they sent him to chemo immediately. And I watched him go through that whole process of the end of his life for the next year while being in lockdown, while not being able to go up there and help while he was in chemo, because at the time we were washing our groceries and we thought if we went and got gas that we would contract it and spread it all over the world. So I listened on the phone to him struggling through this with just him and his roommate. And then after the fact, I was his caretaker through a surgery and then, through watching him pass away, it's a terrible situation. Like, cancer is awful. And it's watching the suffering that's the worst part. Honestly, when he did finally pass away, it was a relief. He had been sick for a long time. But doing all of that during COVID and having no support system, not having a partner to come home to.
And obviously not having a running photo studio because everything shut down.
I had no work. Like, when I moved to LA, I could very comfortably live for almost 2 years without working at all. And through the process of not having a business and then caretaking for my dad, I drained my savings. I leveraged myself with, credit cards and everything else, because that's what you had to do. It was just, there was no safety net.
And we talked about this too, about, when you're in your 20s or even early 30s and you're like, I'm going to start over, or I went here to here, or in the startup world, it's very common to sort of have, the ebb and the flow. Mm-hmm. And that less people are talking about later stages in life. What we can't help but feel either judged or judging of ourselves about having those things happen at later stages, because like by now I should have had my self together. By now I should have these things, and and so what that's like psychologically, that ultimately got you to come. Well, I'm very selfishly happy you came to New Jersey, but that got you to shift again, and without really knowing anyone again except your one friend, and having this one one anchor point to be willing to kind of shift your whole life yet again at this life stage. And
it's not easy.
Yeah. And that, what would you say are some of the things that you tell yourself, or behaviors that you do that you feel like help you kind of keep on keeping on?
That's a good question. Aside from my dad passing away, I had a really crazy 2 years. So I lost 14 people in 2 years, including like the rest of my immediate family, except for my mother. She's the last like of my immediate family that's still here. And it wasn't from COVID. It was all these different things, right? It was like cancer and complication from diabetes and freak accidents and all kinds of stuff like that. And I really was not on planet Earth. I was unraveling quite a bit. And I tried to do therapy with, one of the online telehealth type things. It did not work for me. I got paired with people that didn't have any sort of basis for the life experience that I had, and I needed some perspective. And so I needed to find something, and I took myself to India. My grandfather passed away, and he had worked for United Airlines, so he had like 300,000 miles left. And when he passed away, I had been the impromptu travel agent for the family for a while, so I had access to his account. So I bought myself a ticket to India, and I went for a month. And I solo travel a lot. Part of what I do is travel and lifestyle and branding. So whenever I take a trip, I always think about what do I want to photograph to like sell to a publication later. And that year in particular, for March, which is my birthday month, it's also Holi, which is a really amazing holiday there. And it's fun. They throw the color on you, the powder, and it's the whole thing. But the meaning behind it is really lovely. It's like this vibrance of life, things coming back to life. And while I was there, I have a friend there. So I landed with her. I had no plans. I had a ticket into Bangalore and a ticket out of Bangalore. And then whatever in the month. I went and did yoga on the beach. I went and checked out Bombay for a day. That was intense. And then I went to Jodhpur for actual Holi, it's called the Blue City. It's very old. It's just an incredibly magical place. And a lot of people were really worried about me solo traveling there. And I said, no, I'm really safe in the world. I have always learned, I think because I've moved a lot and because I have solo traveled a lot, you really learn how to flex that muscle of I trust myself and who I am going to interact with, what street I'm going to walk down, what food I'm going to eat. I trust that I am going to make a good decision. And I am one of those lucky people. I genuinely believe that. I have always believed because everything always works out for me. It just does. And I can't explain it. I'm not trying to like brag or be like, I'm great. I've just had some really remarkable experiences like that where I trust that I'm going to be okay, and I am.
There's a lot of traditional Western science-based exploratory research around the idea of what you just said, as well as Eastern and other ancient wisdom about what you just said around that, well, specifically luck. And I'm thinking of a famous experiment I learned in undergrad in psych around where they would have, because, it's a lot of college students do these experiments for the years, right? And they would have an assignment for someone and say, like, you have to go to this coffee shop and walk, and they would give them like a task to do. But what actually was the experiment was something they weren't told, which was that they put money on the ground on the path of where the person was supposed to walk. And before they would do this experiment, they would have them fill out a questionnaire as usual, kind of ascertaining some of their personality traits and things like that, openness and that kind of stuff. But even things about,
optimist or a pessimist?
do you feel lucky and those kinds of things. Okay, so they had that pre-survey. They go through the official task of like, you're going to go here, you're going to walk there, buy this thing, come back and do this, whatever. And basically they would pass over the money on the ground, on the sidewalk. And sure enough, there was a correlation, not a causal, but a correlation, high correlation between people who indicated that they were lucky or optimists, like generally things work out, or I believe, the world is generally a good place type of thing. They saw the money on the ground in the same spot. And the people who in the survey said, I'm not lucky, I never win anything, the world is out to get me, they didn't see the money. So this is a very simple example, but just to say it's illustrative of sometimes, the life is what you make it. If you are open to miracles, that miracles find you. You could say that,
really do.
And that in positive psychology or even, consciousness research around when you set your mind to your ultimate happy ending and have it with you in the now, that you are actually pulling yourself to that reality. So that by saying, I make good choices, I have it, so that it means that you'll see the little like, maybe I'm not going to go that way. Or I think I'm lost. And that's when the actual benevolent stranger might be put in your path to ask a question. How do I go from here, or what have you?
Sure.
So I think you can take either side, but there's a lot to what you just said. I think, again, people believing that that is for everyone, that that's available to everyone. It is a mindset.
It is a mindset.
Trick, shift, protocol, however you want to call it, to say, my day when I wake up is whatever it can be today, could be full of miracles. That is possible. I call that to me.
Yeah.
The person I was when I went to sleep isn't me today.
Because you're not. You're not. Every day when you wake up, you literally start over again. I don't think people really genuinely understand.
I'm working on that. That's been one of my current things, like really trying to start each day fresh.
Yeah.
And just grateful that your eyes opened. And, a lot of times I say that as sort of a joke. They're like, it's a good day. I'm like, every day's a good day. I woke up.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's true. And like seeing yourself in your past self. And I used to really be so hard on myself constantly. It's like, especially as you're getting older now, I think I feel more happy, stable, secure, sexy in my body in my mid 40s than I ever did when I was 25 and a size 2 and I was dancing 6 days a week. Like I did tap jazz ballet. I was in incredible shape. I look at pictures of myself.
Every inch was like under the microscope of dissection. I see it here, and I'm not ready for, or even the volume of photos. I see beautiful young people, and they're all beautiful, all of them, all shapes and sizes, all colors, all whatever, but yet they don't see it.
I know.
And I do. I feel like that cliched older lady, like, do you see how beautiful you are?
I know. No, it's true. I feel like
but
that
even
on the
if
regular.
we see pictures of ourselves, we're like, wait, I was so
cute.
What was my problem?
I know.
And that, even our awkward things are things that are maybe not conventionally deemed as, the best or the most attractive to whomever or whatever. Finding the beauty in all of those bits, and for me being morbidly obese and being able to look at a photo of myself like that and be okay with it and not be ashamed, even though like that has nothing to do with if I'm going to hold the door open for you, if I'm going to be mean to you. What does that case have anything to do with anything? And yet I held so much of my identity in that.
In your outward perception of yourself. And it's your perception too. I think as we're moving through, life and culture and society, we're seeing more celebration of all different kinds of body types. And like we have people out there in the world like Lizzo, who's like shaking that cellulite on Instagram. And I know a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that. And they're like, I don't want to see that, blah, blah, blah. That's not for you, girl.
And differently abled.
Now
we see people in wheelchairs with prosthetics in fashion shows.
Yes.
Pregnant.
Winnie Harlow, she has a vitiligo with her skin. And it's like this really interesting, beautiful pattern. Like I can't stop looking at her. She's so beautiful because she's interesting and different. So when we understand that like the things that make you different visually, that doesn't define you. It's how you show up.
Yep.
Are you a nice person? Do you care about your family? Are you good to animals? Do you recycle? I don't know. Whatever makes you
service
happy.
People is a big one, right?
Oh,
how
for sure. That's an indicator, by the way, guys. Like if you're on a date, men or women, and the person you're with is rude to a server, leave.
Yeah, that's the end.
Goodbye. Nope. Next.
Or fake, super fake nice.
Living in California, people ask me a lot since I've moved here, why do you move to the East Coast? Why New Jersey? Why do you want to be close to New York? I identify so much with the adage that New Yorkers are kind, but not nice. And LA people are nice, but not kind.
Oh yeah. So it'll be like, real. Oh my God, you're fabulous. And then be like, you've been like eating a little extra avocado or whatever it is, some kind of backhanded question. Meanwhile, you'll be like, girl, you look tired, but you're still hot. Or whatever. Like it's like some kind of like,
you having a rough day?
Yeah.
Like I can tell. Here, let me give you a hug.
Yeah. Like it's more like they'll keep you in your place, but it'll be sincere, whatever it is.
I think like people who have never lived in a high density city also don't understand that New Jersey, New York, Chicago, Miami, parts of Texas, when you are around people, in a public space, on the sidewalk, on the train. You have to interact with people on a daily basis. So when you go into the bodega, like your guy says hi, because that's like, you have to. We have to all get along here, and we learn how to function better. And I'm not talking shit on LA. LA is great for some people. It didn't resonate for me because I need connection. I need people. I need the community around me, and I had a very hard time finding it there because of the way that it's set up. It's isolating. People live in apartments or houses with parking lots. People get in the car, they don't interact. They're on the freeway, they don't interact. They go to a parking lot, they don't interact. They go to a store, and everyone is taught
further.
Yeah, that like no one talks to each other, and if they do, everyone wants to be perceived in a certain way. And I felt like this need to be seen as something there from people. And I was like, but I just want to know who you are. I don't need to know your resume or what show you've been on or what project you're working on. Like, that doesn't define you. Like,
right.
How you doing? Are you having a good day?
And the kinds of people that you would meet for your work would be, they're going to over-index that kind of person anyway.
100%.
Yeah. So, let's bring it to now. We're about to kick off Summer of Fun. You have anything exciting that you're excited about for summer in terms of any events or trips?
I do. The second part of the Puerto Rico wedding that I just did, it's been really fun to kind of like come back to this industry in a way, because I just started opening myself up to being like, I want to do elopements. I want to do destination. I want to have like small intimate events that are going to be meaningful, so that, when you look at those photos, you're going to have those people. And this particular wedding, because she's a friend of mine and we work in the corporate space together, like she's a corporate event planner, and she's a badass. Like, she is a straight baddie, this girl. She has her life together, and meeting her partner, Angel, and her met in this crazy way, and they were really meant to be. And then they went through all this hardship together because he has a medical condition that showed itself, and they went through all of this stuff together that if you're gonna make it, like, this is a test.
Yeah.
And so photographing their wedding and being a part of it is really exciting. And they are having a little Chicago event coming up at the end of July. So I get to go and photograph that as well. And her friends are my friends, So I get to go to work, but also
you're the archivist essentially of these milestones.
And I've always been that person.
Yeah.
I got a camera when I was 4 years old, like for Christmas, one of those little 110 film cameras, the little flat ones. And I took it to preschool and took pictures of my friends. I was like, you stand over there and you stand over there. And I have pictures of every, field trip and concert I went to in high school and track meet I was in. I just like bringing people together that way. So I'm really excited to go see my friends and get to, finish up this little chapter for them and finalize their time, and get to spend some time with like my chosen family in Chicago as well. So
that's beautiful. Well, yeah. I feel like we covered a lot today, and I thank you so much for revealing all that, and really some of the underpinnings around how you maneuver the trauma, the tragedy, the triumph, the failure, the sadness of, we got to start over again. I got to start over again. And you were like, I can't wait to get my bed, and sometimes it's really simple stuff, you're like,
hard in
storage.
general.
Yeah.
No, it is. Like, moving is really hard in general, but moving to change your whole life at this age, it's very hard to make friends. It's very hard to make a circle, and you have to put energy into it. But again, I'm a lucky girl. So I happen to call the people to me, like you and I just connected really quickly. It's being open to that.
Yeah.
So that's how I cope. That's how I get through all the sadness and the depression and the loss that I've been through, is understanding that my life is today and right now, and all those things are past. So I get to make a decision every day on how I show up, how I'm going to show up and make other people feel, makes me feel better, and it's a feedback loop. So
I should just have her as a paid spokesperson. And I think that, and it's okay, we said before too, like to say, and some days I can't.
Oh, definitely.
So that we still have those days too.
Yep.
I might just say this on camera and call it, because I see my husband is now in the booth there, about Poirot-ing, where I'll sequester for an hour or two and watch old episodes of Poirot, Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, BBC.
Okay.
And I just want to be transported to this cinematic land of a simpler time, where there's like the, and everything is a big deal. But it's also like one little thing in life, and that the pace.
It's Bake Show for me.
The pace of it. Everyone has a different thing. I used to not be raised on much TV, so these are newer things, and I'm like, oh, and just sometimes you need that, and whatever that is. And I would say, are there healthier things? Absolutely. I like to encourage people, if you're able-bodied and this is something that works for you, to take a walk or move or stretch,
100%.
and all those kinds of things too. But also sometimes being vegetative or cocooning or whatever we call it. We still have all those moments. So I just want to make sure we're not saying that everything is hearts and flowers every moment, but that we let that come up for a little bit. You recognize it, and you maneuver through it in all the ways you talked about.
It's just another way to give yourself a little serotonin boost so that you can get through your hard day. I don't know what's been happening in the planets the last few days, but it's been a very tumultuous week for me in particular. I've been on the struggle bus. I won't lie. Like, I had a couple of days where I just couldn't. I had reached my limit.
The weather felt like
anxiety.
It was mirroring all of our stuff. We were finding out about new wars. All the headlines were literally about predatory stuff at the highest levels of innocence, military things, systems crumbling. Everything is shifting. The sky was opening up. It was raining everywhere in places where it's hardly rains. And we were all like,
what is happening
What
right
is
now?
happening? And so, the world underneath our feet is jiggling a little bit. So that's why I'm so grateful for, you spending this time with me and talking about this. And, listen, I'm not the Joe Rogan experience. I'm the Natanya experience. So I don't have Joe's kind of numbers. But, we're still trying to reach as many people as we can with as many kinds of stories as we can to show people, all the different ways to get through it. And hopefully that one person or one story or one moment or one tip or one trick, and someone's like, that's me. I'm not the only one in this.
It'll resonate with someone. And that's why I don't feel any type of way about airing all of my dirty laundry. Like being comfortable with talking about, I have messiness and I made choices that have put me here.
Yeah.
And now I have to clean up this messiness, right? And being okay with that.
Yeah.
Like understanding that there were circumstances. Did I make some poor decisions in certain moments, or did I not pick myself up soon enough? Yeah. Like, give me a break. Like,
mortified. I've seen a lot of comics lately make fun of their own selves and how they were like either, on camera, some righteous indignation about thing X that now they're like, I don't really care about that anymore.
Yeah.
I was so
you
offended
grow up and
because
you get over it.
So, we've all been there, but I thank you. This was really, really wonderful. And I really appreciate all that you shared and just our friendship. And yes, the fabulous photographs too.
Yep.
And,
yeah.
we
Thank
keep
you.
going.
I mean, it's, look, we're all in this together, so there's really no reason to, have your wits about you, but I don't think we need to be afraid of one another. And I feel that right now, like there's these side A and side B and you're on this team or that team. And that's just not true.
No.
At all.
No.
So
I agree.
be nice to
and
each other.
I'm not proud of, having to learn that lesson, but I feel like I learned it now. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So thank you, for being part of this crazy experiment.
Anytime.
Okay. Thanks. That's a wrap.
That's the best part.